considered a barricaded subject and that there was time and there were no more children at risk.
I was praying, thinking, why is this happening?
New details from Texas law enforcement reveal students called 911 during the shooting, begging for help. That help came too late.
Yes, I was misled.
Still mad. I'm sick. I'm angry.
Here in Colorado, students demand change and action on the state capitol steps.
Every time I walk into a classroom, I automatically think, where's the best place to hide?
And one student gets his big graduation moment after the school makes last-minute modifications to the stage.
I was really stressed out that I wouldn't be able to graduate with my class.
I'm extremely proud of him.
Well, good evening. Thanks for joining us tonight for Denver 7 News at 5. I'm Shannon Ogden.
And I'm Jacqueline Allen. Tonight, the question everyone is asking, why did it take law enforcement so long to enter Robb Elementary School and shoot the suspect?
Well, today we learned that at 11 a.m., the first call was made to 911 that someone was shooting at the school in Uvalde, Texas. By noon, students began calling 911, asking dispatch to send police immediately. Two of those children who called were killed by the gunman.
It wasn't until 12:51, nearly an hour and a half later, that law enforcement finally entered a classroom and killed the suspect. Denver 7's Jason Grenauer joins us live now, looking deeper into this timeline.
Jason, just the more we learn, the sadder this gets.
It absolutely does, and it was the wrong decision. Plain and simple. The Texas Department of Safety admitted that the incident commander on scene at the elementary school misjudged the situation, thinking it was not an active shooter, but a barricaded subject, and that the children were no longer at risk. Well, that decision cost nearly an hour, as that shooter was inside that classroom. A startling admission of the decision made by first responders inside Robb Elementary.
Hey, from the benefit of hindsight, where I'm sitting now, of course it was not the right decision. It was the wrong decision, period. There's no excuse for that.
Authorities now say that it appears the gunman got into the school from a door that was propped open by a teacher, and that he was never confronted by a school resource officer before entering the building.
That officer was not on scene, not on campus, but had heard the 911 call with a man with a gun, drove immediately to the area. So he drove right by the suspect, who was hunkered down behind a vehicle, where he began shooting at the school.
At 11:44, 14 minutes after the first 911 call was made, 19 officers from various agencies made it outside the classroom door where the suspect was barricaded behind a locked door. But they did not go in. They waited for a tactical team, which arrived about 30 minutes later. During today's news conference, authorities talked about the 911 calls that came from inside that classroom.
You could hear over the 911 call that 3 shots were fired.
35 minutes after CPD SWAT arrived, officers broke through the door and killed the suspect. We also learned today that the school district in Uvalde held an active shooter training drill just 2 months earlier. ABC News spoke with families and neighbors reacting to today's news conference.
What was your reaction to everything that you heard? That press conference got really heated.
I'm sick. I want to throw up. I'm angry. I mean, this guy needs to resign.
Now, today's information was different than what had been given out by other Texas officials earlier on and previously. Now, this afternoon, Texas Governor Greg Abbott then held a news conference of his own where he claimed he was, quote, misled, given inaccurate information, and that he was livid. He said he expects the investigation into the shooting to get to the bottom of every fact with absolute certainty. In the newsroom tonight, I'm Jason Grenauer, Denver 7.
Thank you, Jason. We will keep following that.
Well, just a 4-hour drive from Uvalde, the National Rifle Association right now is holding its annual convention in Houston. Texas Governor Abbott did not attend, but recorded a message for the convention advocating against additional gun laws. Former President Trump also spoke at the event. Now, outside the convention, thousands are gathered to protest the NRA. So back in 1999, the NRA's convention was in Denver. That was just 10 days after Columbine. The NRA refused to cancel that event, as it did today.
Today, at least 2 Denver Metro school students staged protests against gun violence, pushing for more gun safety measures. That included students from Northfield High School, which had to be evacuated yesterday because of a threat.
So that threat turned out to be a paintball gun. Denver 7's Bayan Wang joins us now live in Denver.
And Bayan, students tell you they are tired of constantly fearing for their safety at school.
Yeah, Jacqueline, these students are just absolutely exhausted, and many of them that I spoke to are still trying to process exactly what they're feeling. I mean, we've heard from the politicians, we've heard from the lawmakers, we've heard from police. Today was all about the students. A flag flying at half-staff honoring the students and teachers who lost their lives in Uvalde, Texas.
We are not doing enough.
Below that temporary flag of mourning, Northfield High School students demonstrated on the Capitol steps.
We deserve to feel safe at school.
There's an uneasy familiarity with demonstrations like this. Consider that every one of these kids has heard their school lockdown announcement enough to memorize it.
Attention teachers, students, and staff. This is Denver Schools Department of Safety. Your building has been placed on lockdown.
Your building has been placed in a lockdown. Please go in a classroom and shut off the lights and don't be seen.
This is their generation, one that is now as familiar with tragedy as their ABCs.
I've been doing this since kindergarten, since I was 4 years old.
Raised in an era of mass shootings.
In kindergarten, which was 2012, we were told to make bracelets for children who had lost friends in an incident.
At the time, Allie Reed didn't understand the purpose of making bracelets for Sandy Hook.
In middle school, we had the walkout honoring those who had died to a school shooter in Parkland, Florida.
Thursday, another school lockdown announcement following reports of a student with a gun on campus, dozens of officers swarming the school.
There was a flood of kids running inside the doors, like panicking.
I went over and I leaned over my friend Maka and I was like, if there's a shooter that walks in, we're supposed to fight them. We're supposed to throw stuff at them.
And the now too common messages to parents from their kids.
I instantly texted my dad and said, hey, I love you, because I didn't know if that would be like the end of my life.
I text them like, this is hopefully a drill. I love you. I hope to see you.
And finally, the all too familiar demand from those still too young to vote, but fully aware of the stakes.
I hide under a desk, close my eyes, and don't talk. If you can vote, and if you have some sort of power in this country, if you are over 18, you can make a difference.
And it was just so heartbreaking hearing these students explain so eloquently how they were feeling, so eloquently explaining how they felt during the lockdown yesterday. But this is a reality, as you heard, they've been dealing with their entire lives. The saddest part is they don't feel like they're being heard. We're live in downtown. Bayan Wang, Denver 7.
Thank you, Bayan. And today, students at Hamilton Middle in Denver also protested. The schools today also banned backpacks and bags for the last week of school at the request of students.
And if you would like to help victims in Uvalde and their families, we have resources on where to donate. You can find that right now on thedenverchannel.com. Today, Boulder County moved into the red, or high-risk COVID-19 community level. That's the highest level, according to the CDC. Jackson County in northwestern Colorado is also at high COVID-19 community level. Now, in places under that high risk, the CDC recommends everyone use masks indoors.
Well, crossing the stage at high school graduation is a moment many of us will never forget. But one Colorado student with cerebral palsy wasn't sure if he'd have the chance to do that today.
Denver 7's Colette Bordelon was there as the school came together to make it happen.
A day that feels so far away.
But it's a culmination of like 13 years.
And a day that all of a sudden is here.
It's an exciting kind of end to one chapter.
The future on the other side.
What lies ahead for each of these kids.
For the students and one of their dogs who walked,
who's next,
and rolled across the stage.
Growing up, there's a lot of things that people try and prevent you from doing. So graduating high school is big for me.
Damon Oswald is moving to Minnesota in the fall and wants to study history, hoping to become a teacher.
So the sad part about history is that nothing changes unless people talk about it.
Today, making history of his own.
I felt yesterday like I was going to be ostracized.
After his family learned the stage wasn't ADA compliant.
There's no way he can walk across the stage with his classmates. Why? Well, because he can't walk.
But the morning of, the school found a way to work around the stairs.
There was some stress and some anger, and I said, you know, I get it. I'm a parent as well.
Despite the stress, before the ceremony, Oswald kept a smile on his face, something his mom says he's always done.
He has kept me young. He has given me purpose. He has blessed my life in so many ways. I I don't know where I'd be today if it weren't for him.
And getting his diploma.
Overall happiness, I was really happy to see everyone there and smiling and laughing at me because of the hat situation.
A moment, making it all worth it.
It means to be included and not seen as just my wheelchair, as just like the person inside the chair.
Now, the feeling is relief.
But I hope in the future that they pick somewhere where they don't have to do it last minute.
Leaving behind something the school will remember.
I'm extremely proud of him, and I know he can do it.
As he heads off to make new memories. Colette Bordelon, Denver 7.
I'm so excited. I'm ready to go.
Ready for the season.
These past few storms have cooled down the temperature, slowed down the melt, and really set us up for an amazing summer.
Rafting instructors are ready to hit the water, despite the current drought potentially impacting a busy season.
To get a 40-inch dump and to freeze the snowpack from melting, game changer.
The forecast looks excellent for the rest of the night here in Denver and the metro area, but we have some changes for your holiday weekend, and I'll have that for you coming up.